we've created is a zoo of our own design. That the world really is like the zoo for humans. It's not aligned with our physiology, our spirituality. This is Unprocessed with Chef Aran Goldstein. I'm a classically trained chef who left restaurant life to cook scratch food at schools because I had to do something about the way we feed kids. This podcast is a series of honest conversations with people who are questioning the way things are and actually doing something about it. From food and parenting to health, home, all of it. Head to the link in the description and subscribe to my Substack community where we explore eating well and living well in this amazing world. Let's jump in. This is episode 1 of Unprocessed. This is my podcast that is coming at a really interesting time in my life. 44 years old, I'm a dad of 2 boys, got a beautiful wife, and I look around at the world and I'm observing my own inner world, and I am yearning to dive into conversation and explore where we're at and where we're going. And so you'll get to know more about me, and I'm not going to bore you with my whole life story in this first episode, because it's going to come out as we dive into conversation with people. But by the title, Unprocessed, you can probably imagine that there's something here to explore in terms of food and food systems and what we're eating. But really, this is not a food podcast. It's really just the lens through which we're going to explore life. And it's through which I explore life. Because for me, food touches everything. And the decisions that we make around food touch everything. They really shape our lives. And they damn right shape our children's lives in creating the texture and the smell and the lived experience day to day, and how dad and mom are modeling this world around them, whether or not they shop at the grocery store or the big box stores or order online or you join them at the farmer's market on the weekends. Those are really impactful decisions. And I'm really interested in how we are working together to support each other in those decisions and inspire each other to be deliberate and to remember that we get to choose this life. To remember that we get to choose how we're living, and to remember that it's our responsibility and our honor to provide an amazing life for our children, not just an okay life and set them up and send them off to school and outsource it and let other people do it, but to remember that this is on us. In the last century, we have outsourced so much from our food, our children's education, / the way that they are socialized and grow into adulthood, the way we parent, the way we eat, and the way we cook. And I just can't help but feel like over these decades especially, something feels off. And what I intuit is that that's a shared feeling. You listening agree with me that there's this feeling like there's got to be a better way. Like, this can't be it. Work my ass off for someone else, go to a job, commute, pay my car lease or pay my mortgage or pay my rent, and scramble to make dinner, and the weeks go on, and hope that we get to have a vacation once or twice a year, or hope that we can get that flight to visit family members or whatever that is, right? But this feeling like there's got to be a better way. And for the collective, you observe, and I can be kind of a Debbie Downer a bit, and look at a new development right down the street. There's this clearing of trees to make yet another target for the world to enjoy, right? And like the kind of depressing aspect of it is, my God, we got another target. We get to drive down the street and look at this beautiful building and this beautiful parking lot, right? But then my optimistic side takes a step back and remembers that we have power, that we are not powerless. And I get to shape my world. I get to shape it for my kids. I get to shape it for myself when I can remember this light, right? And that this power that I have to yield a wand and create the life of my dreams. And one of the things that I'm going to dive into in this podcast is how to come back to that more. Because I think you might agree that there are waves of feelings that arise in our lives, or these stretches of time where we have faith or we trust that the world has our back, right? And your flavor might be Jesus or God or whatever it is, right? Whatever religious belief or spiritual belief you have, or none of that. Just this feeling of trust in the world or the universe. How do we embody more of that and live a life when we're at that frequency? How do I show up as a dad where I'm creating this field around me where my kids feel that for me? This dad that trusts, that is embodied, that is integrated, that is a man to look up to and to try to be like when they grow up. And for a lot of my fatherhood, these first 9 years, I've got two boys. It has been a roller coaster of me shaming myself, feeling like I do not have this. I am reactionary. I am not crafting this container. I'm not crafting my home. My friend Tom describes it as, am I meticulously designing the environment for my family? Imagine what that would be like to do that, right? To show up in the world and be meticulous in the way that you are creating the lived experience for yourself or your family. And so that's a theme that we're definitely going to dive into. So I'm a chef. This is my job for almost 20 years, on and off in restaurant kitchens or hotels. I've traveled quite a bit abroad. And for the last number of years, I've been really on fire with how we feed kids. So I've cooked for a few different schools and built school lunch programs. And what I've witnessed in that environment is amazing. Amazing the power that we have to make change in children's lives and families' lives when you show up with really high resonant food, right? Food that speaks to us, speaks to them, speaks to their bodies, it speaks to their stories, right? To show up in a school setting that can be a scary, strange, cold place for a kid, right? Away from home, and be someone that can hold space for them and to see them and to be an inspiring energy for them, to be excited, to model excitement for food, right? And excitement to honor this life in our bodies with really deeply nourishing food, to hold boundaries for them and not apologize for not having certain foods, refined sugars or whatever it might be, or seed oils or chips or dessert, whatever it might be, right? Nothing against dessert, because I think we can have our dessert. I just have my way, and we'll talk about that. But the power to show up in one's truth and in one's fire, and my fire is definitely that. The reason why I'm so lit up to do that is I was that kid in middle school. I was obese, according to my pediatrician, and I think I was over. I want to say I was 209 pounds. For whatever reason, that's what I remember being at. I want to say it was eighth grade and seeing my pediatrician. And those years were so painfully awkward for me, which they're already awkward, right? They're already awkward for an adolescent kid. But I remember this visceral feeling of feeling so slow in my body, feeling slow against my peers or versus my peers as I love sport and basketball. I remember getting beaten by my friend Matt Foley in tennis, and he would just like sling a shot cross court with his like big left hand forehand, and I was hopeless and couldn't get to it. Now, one, Matt was a really good tennis player, but he could get the balls that I was hitting cross court, right? He was really fit. And I remember hating this feeling of being slow. I had a big gut. I was so ashamed to be picked on skins in basketball. I was so ashamed to go to a pool party. I didn't want to take my shirt off. That still is in my body, that yucky, like I remember being in a shower and just wanting to rip my stomach off, feeling just so gross, right? Now, the world might say, hey, you just didn't have the self-confidence. You were beautiful, right? Well, I didn't feel beautiful at all. And especially as a man, like that's still working through that feeling very often stuck in my body and knowing that, look, even then, I just wanted to feel alive, and I didn't feel alive. I wanted to feel like I could jump high, like I can pick up heavy things and throw them, to be able to exert my force on a basketball court. Like, what a human thing, what a manly thing to desire, right? To feel strong. And what I know now as a dad is that there's an inner yearning for me to be a protector, to protect my wife, to protect my kids, maybe protect my tribe, right? That is in my body. And to do that well and to embody that kind of energy, I better damn well be in shape, right? And there are all these layers to just that. What does that mean to be in shape, right? It means like I've got an ownership of this life and the rituals, right? And that is awkward in today's world. I come back to Christopher Ryan, the author, and his book, Civilized to Death, so often. And Chris, I want to get you on the pod and talk about this idea. And forgive me if I'm not phrasing it correctly, but he describes what we've created as a zoo of our own design. That the world really is like the zoo for humans. It's not aligned with our physiology, our spirituality, these amazing bodies that we have. In this room with these walls and the ceiling, the sunlight is barely coming in through the windows, right? I don't feel the wind. I don't hear the birds. They're through glass or through these walls. You could argue that, what we've created, it really does feel like a zoo. So how do we, outside of really the natural world, the way that we always used to live, right, in tune with the natural rhythms? So our bodies developed in tune with the need to hunt, the need to build, the need to use our physical exertion to take care of our lives, to feed ourselves, to feed our kids, to feed our families, to build our dwellings, to traverse terrain, right? That's not the average human experience now. And so I think on a subconscious level and on a visceral level, so many of us are yearning for that. And so we go to the gym because we want to sweat, because we know that feels good, right? We want to create sacred space to be with our partners, to make love, because that is a moment where we feel so present and alive, hopefully, right? If we can get out of our heads. We want to eat really nourishing food that is of this world and not something plastic and sterile from some factory far away. Not that processing in some ways isn't valuable in today's world, because so much of what we've created is awesome, right? It has freed us up in so many ways. And I'm not going to be here shaming the idea that I can order toasted sesame oil from Japan, or miso from Japan, or great olive oil from Tuscany, and it's there the next day. It's really cool, right? But that we're at this interesting time in life where we are here needing to reconcile where we come from, where we're at, and where we're going. And food is wrapped up into all of that. How we are relating to each other is wrapped up into all that. How we are raising our children is wrapped up into all that. How we are relating to ourselves and this soul inside our bodies, this ethereal existence that we dance with, right? This physical world, the ethereal, this soul heart space that we know we have access to, right? When we find these moments of stillness, for some people it's church, for some people it's just meditation, for some people it's an unbelievable glass of wine, or an unbelievable meal, or a ride on a train on vacation when life seems to be suspended, or that moment of stillness early in the morning before the house has woken up and you can hear the birds and you feel that first ray of sun on your face and you touch the ground with your feet and you remember that you're here. So this is the pod. It's unprocessed because I'm really interested in exploring all of these things, this world, because I know we can do better. I know we are suffering in so many ways, and people are numb or in pain or dying too early or succumbing to disease states that I find so absurdly unnecessary. Our relationship between our bodies to sickness is, I think, the most fascinating discussion that we could possibly have. Our relationship between germs and what causes disease, I think, is a thrilling conversation to have. How we relate to this physical world versus this, I don't even know how to describe it, this energy field that we find ourselves in, right? This incredible universe that we find ourselves in. And all the while, we're going to cook too. This podcast is going to take different forms. I'm going to take it on the road. I'm going to do it traveling. Starting this summer, I'm going to be traveling. I'll be abroad. And I'm going to take this microphone with me. At times, we'll be filming in person. And at times, I'll dive into the kitchen with guests. And at times, we'll just dive into conversation. So I hope you join me in this exploration of life. And so we'll process what needs processing. We'll look at what is unprocessed. And we'll dive in together in the hopes that we can chart a new path forward. And one thing that I often say, because I keep on coming back to the poem, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, is it, right? Two roads, right? We've got two choices. We can keep going in this kind of daze and keep walking this path and build more targets, right? Or we can choose the other one. And part of that is returning to more texture and amazing smells in our homes and slower meals and a life that feels aligned, a life that feels right, that feels good. Choosing and crafting day-to-day rhythms that give us chills almost when we remember how magical this existence can be when we create the space and zoom out a bit and breathe. I know I want that. And I know that there's a different paradigm for myself, and that's why I'm doing this. And that's why I'm starting this pod. So here we go. I'll see you soon in the first interview. Hey everyone. If this episode meant something to you, please share it with someone that you love. It really means a lot to move the needle in someone's life, to inspire them. You can find everything we talked about in the show notes, and I hope you'll come join me in my What Feeds Us community on Substack, where I can help take the decisions off your plate as I provide weekly prep ideas, recipes, community, and so much more. So until next time, this is Chef Aran with Unprocessed.